Catharism's important in a secret. Cathar Love 122. The Cathars had very few rituals. They went into churches. They worshipped in homes, in the forest, in caves. When the Inquisition was after them, they had no choice. They had to hide in caves. But one ritual I did have, and before I talk about this, there are so many books now on the Cathars. I find it hard to keep up with them. The history of them, but they're all to do with the history of the Cathars, the human side of the Cathars. But what about the Cathar beliefs? They were a very spiritual and mystical group, and virtually all that was destroyed by the Northern Knights of France. So how do we come to understand about their spiritual journey? And the only way that it can virtually come to us is through books such as Arthur Gurdon's The Cathars and Reincarnation, a number of books, and he talks about it, Miss Mills, Miss Smith, and both who had farm memory involved with the guide, notably Breda de Montsever, who explained different aspects of the Cathars' spiritual journey. The other book is the Cathar Dialogues, which is my friend Jim, who's now dead, Guillaume, and his discourses, his talks, his dialogues with Henri de Nabours. When he talks about the Cathar Perfecti's attitude towards things and what they believed, there is another book which has come to my attention. I've read it, it's very good. It's called The Cathar Message. I'll talk more about that later on. I'd like to make contact with the authors. I can't find the publishing company, which makes it rather difficult. They're not in, when I Google, they don't come up. So what I'm saying is, it's only through these occult, paranormal, metaphysical experiences that we can hope to find out the mystical and spiritual side of the Cathars, their spiritual secrets. Now, one ritual was, which happened to Jim, that he was instructed to lay down by Henri. He saw his guide Henri 3 times. And on this occasion, he was asked to put a pillow under his head, and he closed, and Jim closed his eyes. He said, no, open your eyes. I want you to see what's going on so you can record the event. So he kept his eyes open. So Henri took 12 olives. He removed the pips. These are green olives, fresh olives. And then he, in a mortar and pestle, he ground them up. And then in a cloth, he squeezed out the fresh olive oil. When that was done, 4 Cathar women, one at each foot, and the other 2, one massaged one side of his temple, and the other massaged the other side of the temple, while the other Cathar women massaged the feet, the individual foot, each foot. This one went on for half an hour, and then they swapped positions for another half hour. So that was the basic ritual. Henri, Jim told me that Henri said this would also be happening to me. Well, I can tell you, it hasn't happened yet, but I'm looking forward to the occasion. And when it does, I'll let you know. But as yet, it hasn't occurred. So here is a Cathar in a secret ritual. You won't find it in the books on the Cathars, because it talks about the history of the Cathars and how where they came about and what happened to them in the Inquisition and how they were wiped out. And it's a great story. It's so good it's been retold and retold and retold. But it's getting onto the inner workings, which are still secret because they're unknown. Now, Henri says his instruction is turn inwards to the light. We have a Western form of spirituality and mysticism. I'm not talking about religion. And that's in the West, and in the East you have the same thing, be it Indian, Chinese, Vietnamese, Japanese. You had the great mystics, the Buddhist, the Taoist, and they also were instructed to turn inward and search for the inner light. Western mysticism, as defined by the likes of Steiner, it's based on alchemy, and it's not turning base metals, copper and lead into gold. Real alchemy, true alchemy, is changing our base nature, our materialistic side, our seeking power, seeking control, seeking material things and material pleasures. This is our human, but it's our baser nature. So it's an alchemical process, a metaphysical, a paranormal alchemical process of changing our base nature into gold, which is our higher consciousness, enlightenment, if you will. In the East, the basic system is to go from being, from who you are, into non-being, into non-action, and taking this path to gain enlightenment, your higher consciousness. At this particular point of higher consciousness, we are in, it's a state of letting yourself go, transcending self. There, it could be described, as Henri described it, that you see a light, the most radiant light, and yet there's this darkness within this light. Or you'll see this absolute darkness, and yet you'll see this refulgent, this absolute full, this beaming light also. Seems like a contradiction in terms. In the East, they're looking for it, and they have similar descriptions. One description is the golden flower. You're seeking the golden flower in the purple room of the Emerald Palace. These are words. It's to do this is to experience it, and that is very hard to describe. But what a contrast. In the East, they're looking for this, seeking the higher consciousness. But it's without pain and punishment, justice and control, demons, devils, demonology. That doesn't come into it. You are taking your nature, your human nature, and you want to take it to a higher spiritual level. They had their religions over there, different to the West. Their religion is very different to the West. And not everybody was mystics or spiritual or wished to transform their base nature into their higher nature. But there's that small amount of people, comparatively small amount of people, that did exactly the same in the West. It's not that many. The West, most people are caught up in their religions. But what a contrast from basically the tranquility and the peace of the Eastern religion to we look at the Western religions. Without going into the description of the Western religions, if we go into Judaism, we've got Moses as an icon, and the Ten Commandments as a tablet, and the Mosaic commandments, the laws, and which the Jews, that's the law, working within the Judaic law. If we went to Islam, we've got Muhammad as a good man. He looking after his tribe, which his enemies were trying to annihilate him and his tribe. So he had to fight. So we have Muhammad with a sword, and he's out there to defend himself. And then he went on, of course, to conquer right across Africa and Asia and so forth. But we tend to think of Islam, for right or for wrong, with a sword in its hand. I'm being very simplistic here. Not right or wrong. This is just the way we tend to picture things. And even I think a lot of people within Islam would find it hard to see Muhammad without a sword. Even though he preached love and forgiveness and what have you. And we have Christianity. Well, Christianity, of course, we have a sad and suffering Christ strung up against the cross. Some people say nailed, but most times they were usually tied up and had a lingering death. But what a contrast, these religions, to those in the East. But the thing about Catharism is that Catharism is about gratitude for existence, the two greatest goods, the previous video. Gratitude for existence, that means this lifetime and all lifetimes. Gratitude means being thank you and being celebrating the fact of life and existence. We should have a big smile, the fact that we are alive and that we can live life and hopefully live life to the full. And of the Cathars, they weren't all clergy. In fact, a comparative few were clergy, but the people who were the perfecti, the parfaits, the bonhommes, the bonfemmes, they wanted to fast track their spirituality, their mystic journey, and so their journey, or their means to attain that end, the self-realization, enlightenment, was again through meditation, and they were taught and instructed in their meditative practices to turn inwards, to search for the inner light within. The same as in the East, people there who are doing meditative instruction by their teachers or whoever it was, they were also instructed to turn in and search for the inner light within. it is here with Catharism that East meets West. Not only that, because of the Catharism, because it's all about unconditional love for everybody and everything, everywhere. It's not about devils and demons, hell and heaven, salvation or damnation. That is just nothing to do with Catharism whatsoever. Now, in following Cathar, there are a lot of people who get involved with Catharism and they've read books about Cathars, and some might become vegetarian or vegans. Some might, for that, because they want to live what they feel are Cathar lives, they might want to give sex or material things away, or power or control, or whatever these things, in order to live good Cathar lives. And that's fine. That's up to the individual. We don't have what you will do and what you won't do and what you shall do and what you shan't do. We don't have these commandments. This is an individual thing. Catharism is simply about one thing. It's about you. It's about me for me. Not my mother, not my father, not my kids, not my dad. It's me. Me getting my act together and me taking responsibility for my spiritual and mystical journey and the manner in which I go about it. Now, the way I go about it, which I feel is true for me, might be nothing to do with the way you go about it. But that's your business, because it's about you. And that person over there, they go about it in a different way, because they come from a different country, or maybe a different culture, or whatever. Or maybe that's just, they don't have any choice. That's about that person, and that person has to seek their way. It's each person. Catharism is about you, me, you having your journey, your individual and personal, spiritual and mystical, and if you're on the journey and you have taken it, you will find it's also a miraculous and magical journey, because mysticism brings out the miraculous and the and things that would normally people would say are miraculous. Yeah. Be as it may. Now, if you take that journey, that transformative journey, be it east or west, you use the Western system based on the alchemical process of changing our base nature into a higher nature, or we take the Eastern system where we're going from being, taking ourselves into a state of non-being. In other words, in both cases, we are leaving our egos behind and we're getting into a state of, we're reaching our inner consciousness, and we are letting go of self. Whether east or west, we are totally letting go of self. So we're stating it's an area of inner consciousness, a void, if you like, which can be different things for different people at different states within their journey. But it's an area of peace and tranquility. Now, the Cathar, in a secret, people can understand that. But the thing is, at that particular state, if you're moving towards that, and you have as a basis unconditional love and non-judgmental love, undifferentiated love for everybody and everything everywhere, this little package, this little inner secret, if you like, it is not just here on earth, it is not just interplanetary, it is not just interstellar, it is intergalactic. even interdimensional, non-dimensional. At this particular area, or non-area, if you like, because it's a void where we seek for the light, it's where, at this area of inner consciousness, this is where it's I'm not saying it's the only way, but it's that there, it's the universal mind. It's where we can contact the universal mind. I had coffee with a dear friend yesterday, and he just arrived back from the United States. He wasn't happy. He said, "I've been travelling to the United States year after year." He said, and they took me in. He said, "I was in there for an hour and a half." He said, 2 hours they grilled me. "What are you coming over here for? What are you doing here?" And of course it's all the things now with migration, and they're just so strict. And I said, "What do you want to come to America for?" And he's saying, "Well, I come over here every year. I like America. That's why I'm here." "Oh, that's not good enough." Anyway, that's by the by. But he said, "Oh, John," he said, "last year," he said, I lost 4 really good friends." He said, "I'm so sad." And you could see there was sadness on his face. It was etched into his face. I said, "Yeah, Daniel, I know what you mean." I went, in 2 weeks I went to 3 funerals. And I said, "But I'm not sad about it. I mean, I've got feelings. They're friends. I miss their company and I miss them. I've got some friends that I really miss. But I said, that's as far as it goes. The Cathars celebrate life, existence. That's our lifetimes. But when we got rid of this body, when we go on, we celebrate death. Time for let this body go, because we're a soul with a body, not a body with a soul. There's another difference, because with religion, you're basically a body with a soul, and that body is and the God or Christ is a reflection of that body. It's a personal. Well, we don't have that situation. We just cast aside this body when it's done, when its purpose is achieved. I've been very happy with mine. It served me well, still is. And then we're in the world of spirit, and then and then time for another lifetime. No heaven. In fact, when the missionaries went to China, they had a real problem trying to explain, because there's no word in Chinese for heaven. They've managed to put a couple of characters together now and to help explain it, but that just did not exist. It wasn't their concept. They had Tian, which is the sky, and but the Christian Judaic form of heaven just didn't exist over in the East. So they managed to get along without it. So this, I believe, is this inner journey to find this inner sanctum, this inner sanctuary, because it's a great place to go to, where one can let go of oneself, of self, and that's one's emotions, good, bad, and indifferent. And go into a secret world, I suppose, because it belongs to you, it doesn't belong to anyone else. But it's there that not just east meets west, but it's an area which goes beyond the stars. It doesn't matter if we have an extraterrestrial and he came from some star system, wherever it happens to be. This little secret area is instantly recognizable to them, because they've been there and done that long before we did. So this is a Cathar inner secret. But this Cathar inner secret is where we join up with any other person, this universal consciousness, this universal mind. This is where we can access this. Coming back to my friend Daniel, who had his friends die, I said, Daniel, I am sure of your friends that have died, a number of them, or certainly they would wish to contact you one way or another, to let you know one way or another that they're fine. But there's no way they can get beyond your gloom and sadness. You have no opening for them to come through. When we meditate and we take that, we go inwards to the light, we take that in a journey. What you are doing by relinquishing, by releasing, by getting rid of self and all our baser qualities, want this and want that, and this is that, and this is happening, and all these different things that consist of life as we know it. You are now allowing your friends who have died, your guide, people who do want to contact you, you're creating this opening whereby, one way or the other, it's different for different people, they can contact you. Before I go, and a thought just came to me, I'm going to give you a system that I use. Pardonnez-moi. Of course, people have said to me, how do I contact my guide? How does my guide contact me? And I said, well, you have to try different things. You know, one of the easiest I find, and again, you have to be serious about it. If you're flippant, you want to make a game, don't expect your guide to be serious and you're not serious, is to use a pendulum. This is my pendulum. If I want to know something, or something has cropped up that I feel maybe I'm uncomfortable about, or something that I need to know, I just don't use it goes circular. I'll do it round this way for yes, round this way for most definitely, and backwards and forwards for no. And I will ask my guide, Breda, the monster, I had a situation, do you want me to talk about it? And she'll say, no. So, okay. Or, yes. So I ask permission. Now I get a lot of no's, but I do get yeses as well. And so, by using this pendulum, and I can ask a particular question about something that might be very concerning. And you must frame your question correctly, otherwise for you to get a correct answer. I've talked about the I Ching. I will say to Breda, do you wish me to do the I Ching? No. Do you wish me to do the I Ching? Yes. Okay, I'll go and do the I Ching, or cast the I Ching. But it gives me a connection. You don't have to use you can use a piece of cotton, and you can have a ring, or anything at all, as long as you make a pendulum. It's up to you. It's how serious you're taking it. But certainly to try it, you just try it with anything. I mean, they've been using pendulums for different things for ages and ages. But, for instance, if you use your pendulum and I'll just show you one little thing just to show you, and this doesn't matter who you are, the same thing will occur with each person, and you can test out your pendulum. So I have my hand here, I put the pendulum here, watch, away we go. But if I put the pendulum here, watch, sorry, to the left, it's not working as it should. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that whatever you do, everything has a positive and a negative, a positive and negative. I think my mind's racing, and I just need to just relax and allow the pendulum to do its work without wanting it to do one thing or another. But all I'm saying is there are ways that we can make connections. But in that particular case there, that if you do use the pendulum, I suggest that you do a slight meditation, get yourself in a pleasant state of just get all your feelings, emotions, just get them out the way so you can just make yourself as tranquil and peaceful as possibly can, and then use the pendulum, and you'll see which is yes and no, and just say, ask your guide. But it's good manners to ask, so ask permission. So I've spoken at a few things that are really secret. They're inner secrets, but they're not secrets because it's meant to be secret. In fact, the people who know about it would love everyone to know about it and experience it, and also help them. This helps you create a more fuller life for yourself. It certainly gives you more peace and tranquility. And I can tell you that I can assure you one thing. The day or the night or the time that you communicate with your spirit guide, and you know you are communicating with your spirit guide, religion and all this stuff just fades away. You now have your connection with your divine. Gnosticism. You have, Gnosticism says you have a direct link with your divine. You do not need anyone else to intervene for you, act for you. You take responsibility for your mind, body and soul. I feel I have spoken enough about some of the inner aspects of Catharism, and how Catharism not just bridges east and west, certainly from the meditative practices, but in this respect makes it universal. But the secret is, if one thinks about it and understands it, is that it's more than universal. It is interplanetary, interstellar, and intergalactic. And if and when the extraterrestrials, they have made themselves known, but it becomes commonplace, the knowledge that they are there. This is one area that they will just tune in with us, and it's also an area where they can, like a guide, tune into us if necessary. Enough for today. Bye for now.